Hello, this is Hebrew Apologetics with Marcus Cage. I'm your host, Marcus Cage. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Father above, Yahweh. And this video, I was going through a little bit of research and I ran across these DNA clips where Ashkenazi Jewish people were talking about their results, and I found them very fascinating. So I decided to put these clips together, a couple of pictures in there towards the end for you, and then I will let you figure out what to make of what you see in the video.
Here today to tell you that Ancestry.com can now report that I am no longer 92% Ashkenazi Jewish. I am, wait for it, 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. That's the new determination. This can't possibly be good for me with the anti-Semites
on this channel, but I just thought that this information hey everyone, so this video is a little different from the content I intend on posting on this channel, but I just thought that this information that I'm about to share with you could be potentially helpful and beneficial to some people out there who are looking for answers. Long story short, I paid a lot of money for Ancestry to tell me that I'm 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. So in other words, thanks for nothing. Tell me something I don't know. Anyway, as you can tell, I wasn't satisfied by this vague, expensive non-answer. The entire reason I was willing to pay so much to find out what I am is because I was curious to know, what exactly is an Ashkenazi Jew? Yes, I know by definition it's a Jew from Eastern or Central Europe. But why and what makes Ashkenazi Jewish DNA different from quote-unquote standard European DNA? Why is it its own category? What's in Ashkenazi Jewish DNA, if that makes sense? So to find out, I did some research and sought out DNA companies that don't have Jewish categories, so that I could get a more accurate breakdown and have my DNA assigned to specific countries and regions in order to find out what the hell I am once and for all. So I came across this site called Living DNA, and according to them, I am 55.7% Near East, 42.8% Europe, and 1.5% Africa. So let's see what that is further broken down. Underneath Near East, I am 43.3% South Caucasus, which according to Living DNA means mostly Armenia, and parts of Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Iran, 9.2% Arabia, and 3.1% the Levant. And under Europe, we have two subcategories. So first there's Southern Europe, which I have 33.7% of, and Eastern Europe, which I have 9.1% of. Under Southern Europe, I have Southern Italy, 19.7%, West Iberia, 7.6%, and Cyprus, 6.5%. Under Eastern Europe, I have Northeastern Europe, 9.1%, which according to Living DNA includes modern-day Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, Eastern Czechoslovakia, and Northern Slovakia. Last but not least, I have 1.5% Africa, all of which is in North Africa. As you can see, all of this is much more detailed than 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Ancestry DNA, catch up. You missed a lot of information. Even though I'm not quite sure what to make of my results yet, I now know that I can use them to slowly piece together the history of my ancestors and learn how they got me to this point. If you're an Ashkenazi Jew out there who was in a similar position to me and you were confused like I was, I hope this can be a guide for you and potentially tell you something about your ancestry breakdown until you do the DNA test for yourself. And if you're an Ashkenazi Jew who did a similar test to this, I'd love to see how your results compare to mine, so please leave your results down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, take care.
What do I always say? I say that I'm not here to teach you, I'm here to learn. I say that I'm ignorant, yet I'm open-minded. I love learning from people who watch my videos and leave me comments, especially people from other parts of the world where there's that cultural divide. So I made a DNA test video. DNA test results why are Americans obsessed with Jews and Mexicans? Which I happen to have traces of both. Fabrice Labornier, one of my newest favorite subscribers, because I learned so much from him. I'm just going to read kind of the opening line of the comment he left on that video. Quote, "Nobody in Europe sees Jewish people as Middle Eastern at all. Jews are part of European history since so much time that is mostly part of us. Jews are seen more of a religion, and certainly not a race nor an ethnicity," end quote. Now, go on and read the rest of the comment because it's important stuff. But for the Americans watching this video, that's really what I want to focus on. I want, as an American who, what I just read that's foreign to me, I want to attempt to process that Jewish people are not Middle Eastern. Let me try to process the fact that Jewish people are not Middle Eastern. I guess what I have to figure out is, why do I think Jewish people are Middle Eastern? And I think that it would go back to the Bible, whether it's the Christian Bible or whether it's the Jewish Bible, the Old Testament, whatever part of the Bible we're looking at, when we
Strong's G 3526. Niger.
when I think of Jewish people, I think of, the religion, but I also think of a certain ethnic group of people. And yes, they could convert and things like that, but still, I still think of people even with certain physical traits that typically, if someone's a Jewish American versus someone who is of English descent, I'm going to be able to pick apart, yeah, that person's probably Jewish. I can tell that. I can physically see that in most cases. Paul Rudd is an exception to the rule. Paul Rudd is Jewish, ethnically Jewish. That's a surprise to me, but he definitely grew up Jewish and is Jewish. Okay, but for me to understand, so why do I keep thinking that Jewish people are specifically Middle Eastern? I think it's probably because of the biblical text, because we see their history going back for thousands of years. We can see where they started out geographically, and that's in the Middle East. And yeah, it's true. They definitely spread out all across the world. I've actually read an article suggesting that there are just as many Jewish people in America than there are in Israel, actually in the Middle East. So maybe it's just a matter of context that I continue as an American to think that Jewish people are Middle Eastern because that's where they started out. But in theory, well, didn't we all kind of start out there? People say, because my mom's DNA test shows she's like, 2% African, which means by default, I'm 1% African by default. But, it's not that I can identify as an African American. And even then, it's like, well, people find that out about me and they're like, well, yeah, I guess we're all African. We all originally came from the same place.
Do you have Ashkenazi Jewish DNA? This could be an exciting journey for you. Today, I'll talk about who the Ashkenazi people are and what it means for your family history. If you ever get your DNA tested, you might be surprised to discover a certain percentage of Ashkenazi Jewish DNA. Many people with European ancestry who are not practicing Jews and know of no Jewish ancestors do discover some Ashkenazi in them. There is a lengthy discussion on the topic on 23andme.com, a popular DNA testing site. People are using the discussion to try to determine their Jewish ancestors and their origins after discovering they are descended from some of the Ashkenazi population. Here's what you need to know about the Ashkenazi Jewish people and how they are different genetically from the general Jewish community. The name Ashkenazi comes from a biblical person named Ashkenaz. He was the eldest son of Gomer. Gomer was a grandson of Noah through Noah's son, Shephet. This makes Ashkenaz a great-grandson of Noah. The Jewish population in Eastern and Central Europe began being distinguished from the Holy Land Jewish people by the use of the name Ashkenazi in the early medieval period of history. There was a Christian custom at this time of calling areas of Jewish settlement in Europe with biblical names, which is how the Ashkenazis received their name. By the later medieval period, the term Ashkenazi was used for the German and French Jewish populations alone, and was even adopted by the Jewish people and scholars of the area themselves. How the Ashkenazis got up into Germany and France is a matter of speculation. There are historical records that talk of Jewish settlements in the southern part of Europe during the pre-Christian era. Most of these Jewish people were living in Roman communities. Jewish people were granted full Roman citizenship and all the privileges and rights that came with it in 212 AD, but began to be pushed to the outskirts of society and shunned when Christianity became the dominant religion of Rome in 380 AD. There is also evidence of Jewish people living in ancient Greece. The Greek historian Herodotus knew Jewish people and called them Palestinian Syrians. The Jewish people in ancient Greece were included in the lists of the naval forces who fought for Greece against the invasion parties of Persians. Though the Jewish people practiced monotheism, while the ancient Greeks practiced polytheism, there was no mixing of their religions and no persecution that was recorded. Both communities appear to have lived in harmony with one another. In fact, the lifestyle of ancient Greece was attractive to wealthy Jewish people. There are at least 3 known ancient Jewish synagogue ruins in ancient Greece, which shows the Jewish people were there, practicing their religion, and allowed to do so. While there were definitely Jewish people in ancient Greece, no trace of them exists above or east of Germany before the age of the Romans. Through the Roman period and into the Middle Ages, the Jewish people in Europe migrated into Eastern Europe and France, and some of them became assimilated into the local cultures. Some converted to Christianity, while others, like the Ashkenazis, maintained their Jewish customs and religious practices. It was only with the rise of Emperor Charlemagne, who joined the many kingdoms of France into one country in 800 AD, that the history of the Ashkenazi Jewish people in Europe becomes well documented. Charlemagne gave them the same freedoms they once enjoyed under the Romans, and they began opening businesses in finance and commerce. They also got into banking, as Christians were prohibited from charging interest by their religion. By the 11th century AD, the Ashkenazi Jewish people were well known for their Talmudic study.
Dismissed by most Reformed Jews, Orthodox rabbinic scholars claim the Talmud is the most authentic document, stating the Torah is the sanitized version of Jewish history. The Talmud is the real deal. Multiple authors write the histories collected in the Talmud, detailing the transgressions on the ark and Noah's awakening from drunkenness to curse his son. Shahedrin 108b. God cursed Ham because he broke the prohibition on sex aboard the ark. He was smitten in his skin. Ham is told by his outraged father, Noah, that
because you have seen me uncovered.
According to the Talmud, uncovered is a euphemism for being seen in a sexual way.
Your children shall be born black and ugly. Because you have twisted your head to cause me embarrassment, they shall have kinky hair and red eyes. Because your lips mocked me, their lips shall swell. And because you neglected my nakedness, your progeny shall go naked, and male members shall be shamefully elongated. Their character shall be that of promiscuity, idleness, and all forms of immoral behavior.
According to the Talmud, Noah's drunken tirade even includes geography.
Your seed shall populate the hottest places.
Finally makes sense to me why the whole world thinks most black people are all the same.
Egypt, Abyssinia, and India.
This passage leaves no doubt that the source of Noah's anti-black, anti-melanin curse on Ham stems from the writers of the Babylonian Talmud
studies and halakhic learning. They were also criticized by Jewish people in the Holy Land for their lack of knowledge in traditional Jewish law and the Hebrew language. They spoke Yiddish instead, which was a combination of traditional Hebrew and various German dialects from the communities in which they lived. The Yiddish language was still written with Hebrew letters, however, while also being influenced with Aramaic. If you have Ashkenazi Jewish DNA, you come from a line that goes into antiquity. The Ashkenazi Jews moved away from the Jews of the Holy Land so early on that their DNA is now distinct from other Jewish people. If you discover Ashkenazi Jewish DNA in your DNA profile, explore it and see where it leads. You may be surprised at what you discover.